Hey, welcome back, everybody. Time once again for our weekly journey we call Living Hope. A journey designed to provide hope, inspiration, and education for all those living with pancreatic cancer, including the family and friends that surround them, sharing the real life stories of those really affected by this deadly disease and how they deal with it on a daily basis. With our host, who maybe knows the most about what this is like after, is it 20 years now? I always forget.
21. I get to celebrate 21 in a new and different way.
You're 21 again. Does that mean you can
I'm
go out and
21.
drink now here?
Yeah, legally, right?
Well, who'd you bring with you? You got another one of these amazing family stories this time here.
Yeah, it's this one really hit home because we share a lot of similarities. I wish we didn't, but it's just the way things are sometimes. And I would like to welcome Whitney Goldin as our guest today. Whitney is a wife, mother, daughter, fundraiser, event host, sorry, and attorney. Not necessarily in that order, but wearing so many hats right now. Thank you for joining us today. You have quite a connection to pancreatic cancer, and like I said, we do share a lot of similarities, and that's why I really did find your story very interesting, because I don't run across it very often. I think I've met maybe 3 others that have the same similarities. So
before you launch into those similarities, let's explain the backgrounds that everybody's looking at here. Whitney
yes.
has 3 states behind her, and
I wasn't
I
prepared.
passed geography, so I can recognize the shape of all 3 states. 2 from my early childhood in the Midwest, Illinois and Wisconsin, and then the great state of California. Why do you have those 3 states behind you?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I can give you a little bit of background on the states. I'm from California, Los Angeles. My husband is from Illinois, and we met at the greatest school in the world, University of Wisconsin.
The second greatest school, next to Michigan.
I would say the greatest. Well, we can argue that later on the podcast.
It
So
is a
that
cool
just
school, though, I guess.
represents
Yeah.
both of us, our beginnings, and then our merging together. And then our kids will, of course, go to Wisconsin. So we'll just add more to that.
On Wisconsin, or is that what it is? What's the song?
That
On
is, that
Wisconsin?
is.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. You
We'll
got
sing
it.
that at the end here. All right, and on to Roberta, who normally is in studio here with us today, but she insisted on putting up the little background of her at Anaheim Stadium. Explain the visual behind you.
Yes, well, recently the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network had their annual walk called Purple Stride, and it was at Angel Stadium on April 29th, and we took what was normally our Path of Heroes that lined the path. We were able to take that and put it on the scoreboard. So behind me is actually my grandmother and her youngest son, which I lost both to pancreatic cancer.
Move your head just a little bit because you're blocking that part of the graphic. There it is.
There you go.
Looks like somebody's a sailor or something. In the picture.
That was I don't have very many pictures of my uncle, and that was one that he really loved. The picture that was taken with him and his mom when he was in the Navy many years ago. But I lost him in 2002, and my grandmother in 1960 something.
Well, we're losing your picture against the background, so move back to where you were there. Okay, that's better. All right.
Well, when they go to listen, I guess it doesn't really matter.
That's
But yeah,
true, 'cause
first
you're
watching.
you're fading in and out of the green screen here. Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to get that out of the way here because you guys share this unique story. You've both lost multiple family members to a disease that's still pretty rare for most people.
Yeah, they claim it's rare, but when you run into it, you really wonder, because it seems like everybody I talk to or I meet has a connection somewhere. But the way it was explained to me is when you're looking at other cancers, just you're looking at maybe 300,000 plus. And when you're looking at pancreatic, you're looking at maybe 60,000 being diagnosed. So that's why it's considered a rare cancer. But, whatever it is, we need to do more, and we need to get better diagnostic tooling. So hopefully we can raise that survival rate. So, Whitney, I'm sorry again, if you wouldn't mind sharing your connection with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a connection to pancreatic cancer from the day I was born because the man who I'm named after, Whitney, named after William, my maternal grandfather, passed away from pancreatic cancer in his 50s. My great-grandfather, again on my mom's side, also passed away from pancreatic cancer in his 50s, and my maternal uncle also passed away from pancreatic cancer. And I grew up going to walkathons through the Hirshberg Foundation, just every year memorializing my mom's family who have passed away from pancreatic cancer. I never thought it would happen to anyone who I knew who was living at the time. I just thought that was in the past. That was because they had poor testing then and poor treatment then. It's just not going to happen. And then my world was totally rocked when my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He has no family history of it. There was no genetics that we knew of, and that really it really just shook me to my core. He passed away in January of 2021, and then my mom was diagnosed about a year and a half after losing my dad, which again totally rocked my world. It was just the two of them combined. Really, it really led me down this different avenue that I never expected to be down. But all of a sudden, this advocate and champion for pancreatic cancer awareness, research, all of the above.
As far as, if you don't mind going back to your
Yeah.
dad, what symptoms did your dad have, or did he have any, and how was the cancer
Yeah.
discovered?
So my dad started, he was diagnosed June 14th, and he started having symptoms in May, complaining of indigestion, stomach ache. We didn't know what was going on. We had just gone on a trip together, all of us, to celebrate his 65th birthday. We had just gone on a trip with him, and he was eating a little less. Like his appetite, he had a decreased appetite. He just seemed, his energy was fine. He seemed okay. He just was having like normal complaints. I mean, honestly, I experience indigestion sometimes that you don't think anything of it. And then he started losing weight, and we weren't sure what was going on. It was maybe, I mean, it was really just a matter of weeks until he was diagnosed. It was the weight loss that really tipped everyone off. But at that point, it was too late. He was diagnosed with terminal stage 4. It had spread to his liver. And it was at that point, it just became management. I am proud to say that my dad fought like hell until the very end, and he had 19 months of chemo and never gave up. He did it all to see his kids and grandkids, and that was really, really important to him, was to go out fighting. I mean, he was truly living with cancer. He would do chemo, and then on the off week that he would have it every other week, he would go travel somewhere. Mind you,
Mhm.
this was also during COVID, so traveling was very limited. But when you have limited time, you make it work. And he really inspired me every day, especially at the end when he just gave it his all.
Yeah, it's surprising and amazing what they will go through and what they will, pass on. And it's like, it was
Never
similar.
complained.
Yeah, it was similar with my dad. In fact, we didn't really realize, it wasn't until we saw the weight loss either. And unfortunately, he lived in another state. He lived in New Mexico, so we got together for holidays and whatnot. But we noticed the last year that we were together for the holidays, he had an accident. They were coming to the airport and had hit some black ice, so they spun around and his stomach hit the steering wheel. So we were thinking, putting off the pain that he was experiencing as to that, and that's what he was saying it was. Though he had known for some time that he hadn't been feeling well, but hadn't been letting any of us know that. It was really hard. My dad was not a complainer. I never saw him as, being sick a day in his life. I never saw him taking an aspirin. So to see this sudden change in him as well, and that's what led us to finally do something, was that weight loss. And by the time they finally found it, they did the same. They, decided to do surgery, opened him up, came back and told us, I'm sorry, it's everywhere. There's nothing more we can do. Closed him up, said, take him home and, put his house in order and just enjoy him for the short time you have. And it's one of those things we talked. We said, well, about what do you think we have? Because we were trying to think. Even though my dad knew we loved him, you want to put everything you can into those last few months or days that you have. And they told us the best you can get is probably 3 to 6 months. And my dad was gone within 2 weeks. So it was a very hard thing to watch. He was like 6 feet, 175 pounds, and he got down to 72 pounds before he died. And it was just, something horrible to watch and go through. And again, he would have done chemo, but the doctor actually told him they weren't going to waste it on him because he was dying. And so what we had with the doctors wasn't a great experience. Did
I'm
your
so
experience
sorry.
with your dad's doctors, was it, was it any better? Was it helpful in
Um,
any way?
it was better than that experience. I think that experience, I'm hoping, isn't the norm for most people. I found that Cedar Sinai was, his doctors were great, and he originally we thought 6 months, and he certainly outlived that. But I think part of it is not just the doctors, but also my dad's will and tenacity to keep on fighting, to keep on living. I I later during his chemo regimen, I was pregnant with the second child, his first grandson, who I know he wanted to meet, and he did a 2-week quarantine in an RV with my mom and stepdad, driving from California to Chicago. We arranged chemo around it so that he could then be able to hold my son Lincoln, his grandson, whom he got to meet one other time through a window, just given COVID precautions. But I think my dad's tenacity really did it. I also am eternally grateful to my aunt, who, given that I was in Chicago and couldn't just hop on a plane to and from because we weren't allowed to travel at that point, my aunt became his fighter, his caretaker, and really went above and beyond, getting second opinions, third opinions. He was doing clinical trials in Texas. I mean, he was at all of the big MD Anderson, at all of the big cancer institutions. But I would say my dad, he was just the type of person who would become best friends with everyone. So he became
Mhm.
best friends with every doctor, every nurse. He always somehow managed to get special treatment, not because he wanted it, but just because he was so likable. It was hard not to want to take care of him and give him some extra time here and there.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing what our own human spirit can lead us to do.
Yeah,
So, and I thank him and the family for, the clinical trials can be very difficult, but, we learn so
yeah.
much from them and it's important. So thank you.
His doctors were excellent, truly excellent. I owe a lot of gratitude to them. They allowed him to live long enough so that he could meet my son,
Yeah, and
spend more time with my daughter.
truly amazing. Like I said, I think that the human spirit really can make us do things you don't think you can do. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, how much time had passed from your dad's death till your mom's diagnosis?
So my dad passed away in January of 2021, and my mom was diagnosed in September of 2022. She was in Chicago, visiting. She was coming to Chicago for my kids had a joint birthday party, and my parents, like, they don't miss family events. They don't miss anything. So she wanted to be there. And leading up to it, she said she was a little tired, but she had had COVID like a month before. So we were kind of attributing it to this long COVID that people talk about. And she was saying that her back hurt, and it was hurting pretty consistently. But then she said after she was here with my kids, it got better. I don't know if it was just mentally she was feeling better. So she almost canceled her appointment, but thank God continued. She had, I don't know how much detail I'm supposed, you want me to get into, but she had pancreatitis, and they were trying to figure out the cause of it. And it just wasn't adding up. So this back pain was a real signal for them. And on the CAT scan originally didn't show anything. It wasn't until she had an endoscopy that it was found. And she almost canceled that endoscopy. And I thank God she didn't, because I'm really hopeful and I'm really cautiously optimistic that they caught hers early enough. But the only thing she complained of, again, I don't even know if the tiredness was really COVID. I don't know. Really, it was just some back pain. I mean, how many people experience back pain on a daily basis consistently? That's really scary that that was the only symptom she really had.
Yeah, and it
No,
is.
no sign otherwise.
And please always feel, whatever you're comfortable sharing is what we
No,
want to
no, of
hear.
course.
So, it's just, I think it's important to get some of these things out because, like you say, the back pain, you have back pain and you pass it off. And how many times has somebody actually found that that was a precursor or something going on
Of
with the
course.
pancreas?
And she almost, and you don't want to be a complainer. I could tell she kind of felt bad. We had to carry some stuff to this birthday party, and I could tell she was like, "Oh, my back hurts," but she didn't really want to say it. And we were just like, "Mom, like, maybe your back hurts because you're picking up grandkids." Like we also kind of brushed it off. To be honest,
Yeah.
I brushed it off. was like, oh, well, maybe you lifted something you shouldn't have lifted. She has a 90-pound dog. Like, it could have been anything that caused this. So we were very surprised to learn pancreatic cancer, especially because my mom has gone above and beyond to try to avoid this. She is so diligent about getting tested, given her family history. She also is BRCA positive, so she prophylactically had a double mastectomy and a total hysterectomy. This was maybe a decade ago. She has done everything to try to avoid that scary cancer diagnosis. So despite all of that, and she still got it, was it was pretty shocking to all of us.
Yeah, very, especially doing everything, that they tell you to do to avoid it
Right.
and to have it
She followed all the
happen.
rules, went above and beyond.
Yeah, it's
Really took good care of herself. So she since has had a Whipple procedure. I don't know how in detail you want me to get of
whatever you're
what.
comfortable with.
No, just a Whipple procedure. They remove the head of the location of her tumor was very favorable. You don't want to say like lucky because it's still awful,
Yeah.
but she is fortunate given the location. They removed part of her pancreas, part of her small intestine, her gallbladder, and her I'm forgetting one other organ that was removed. I don't know if you recall. I'm blanking right now. But suffice to say, it's a major surgery. They totally reshaped her entire stomach internally, like removed everything around it, and it's been a struggle for her. It's been a struggle. The recovery of that has not been easy. Meanwhile, she's also undergoing chemo still.
Yeah, with Whipple, it's not an easy surgery. It's pretty much replumbing everything inside and, redirecting things. So it's really a difficult surgery. And then to top it off with the chemo. Is she doing
It's
like an oral chemo or is it infusions or?
She's doing infusions every other week. She took a few months off because she needed to be strong enough from the surgery to then start again. But it is still every other week, every other Thursday, on again and off again. But by the time she's feeling well enough, she'll have like one or two good days and then it starts again.
Yeah.
We were there not too long ago and her blood count was, we tried to come when it was a good week. Like we were hoping that we got lucky in the planning, that it was a week where she was off of chemo, but she had low blood counts. So they had to delay the chemo, or high white blood cells. I mean, they had to delay the chemo. So by the time she was feeling better, we then had to go home. It was like, by the time she feels better, it kind of starts all over again.
Yeah, that's the history with chemo. You get, a couple of days there and then feeling really
Yeah.
great and it's time to start the cycle again.
Yeah.
Now, with your mom, with the history that she had, was she getting checked every so often for pancreatic cancer?
Absolutely. She was doing body scans. She was very diligent. She really did everything that one should do. In fact, she had a body scan. I don't remember the exact timeline. She had a body scan or something at some point, maybe 6 months before that, I think, and it didn't show on that. She didn't have it then, but I don't know if this is accurate, and I don't want to give false information, but we were told that it can go from a stage 1 to a stage 4 pancreatic cancer within a year.
Yeah.
So that's really scary because if you're only getting checked every year, which is what she was recommended to do, you still may get it when it's too late. She got incredibly lucky that it was stage 1 when they found it for my mom.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that your mom she's doing well today. She's doing okay.
She's doing well today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I mean, it's part of us thinks it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it comes back. We just don't know. There's a lot of other things we just don't know.
Yeah, it's really difficult because, like I say, she did everything that you're supposed to do and still
Yeah.
caught it. But at least it was caught early, and I think that's something to be thankful for.
We're very fortunate that she was a candidate for the surgery. That was a big, will she be a candidate or not? That was a huge, huge worry of ours, is that she wouldn't be a candidate. Just given my dad, how it played out for my dad,
Yeah.
it would have been very, very devastating for it to play out that way for my mom also.
Do you know, was your mom diagnosed with neuroendocrine or the endocarcinoma?
Endocarcinoma.
Oh, okay.
The one that's more common, is that the more common one?
Yes.
The more aggressive, yeah, the
Yeah.
more aggressive, more common one is why she was diagnosed.
And your dad
But
was the same?
the doctors told her that her being BRCA positive for whatever reason, they have found in clinical studies that she is more responsive to the chemo, given the BRCA positive nature. I don't know the reasoning. I'm not in the medical field, but that actually worked in her favor. She responded really well to the chemo.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Could you explain a little bit about the BRCA?
Yeah, so it's actually really crazy how she found out about
Hmm.
it. My youngest brother is adopted. He's adopted from Paraguay. My family adopted him and wanted to save a kid's life and wanted to add to our family. So they were looking at his DNA ancestry just to learn more about it because we really don't know anything about his birth parents or background. And my mom said, "You know what? I'm going to do this too." It was called 23andMe. I'm going to look, and you do this little swab on the inside of your mouth you can do, and then they give you more information than one is really equipped to process and handle at that point. But she did it and it turned out BRCA positive. So I don't know what this means. And there's two different types of BRCA. Hers is BRCA2, which means she's more susceptible to certain developing certain cancers than BRCA1, which is more susceptible to developing other cancers. It's genetic. I'm BRCA negative. I tested. I'm Her parents were never tested, but we're assuming based on the cancers they both had. Her mom also had colon cancer, that there was BRCA history in both of them. And it doesn't mean you're for sure going to get cancer, but it certainly makes it significantly more likely. So upon receiving that information, she immediately had both of her breasts removed and all of the tissue around it removed, double mastectomy. And then she also had a total hysterectomy to try to prevent all of the other cancers that her BRCA would predispose her to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just such an amazing story, and it's
I mean,
like,
it's crazy because that test right there could have saved her life. She could have, what if she didn't know she was BRCA positive? I mean, it's wild, but I also think how incredible science is that we've been able to isolate these genes that predispose people to certain cancers. It also makes me question and wonder one day, my dad was negative for all the genes they tested him for. I would bet that one day there is going to be a future gene that they find is determinative of pancreatic cancer and that maybe he had that. Like it just it's amazing what we're still learning and discovering.
it is. And like I said, you have such a unique story, and I really hate rushing through it. And I
Oh
feel
yeah,
that's
sorry,
kind
go
of,
ahead.
no, it's not, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying our time wise, it's just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's more I really want to talk about and ask you, but I know you really want to get into you being the advocate and what you've been doing as far as the fundraising. So I want to give you some time to do that. And I know we had hoped to, continue next Thursday, but
I,
due to
I
a
can try
schedule
to.
conflict.
We have a little conflict, but I'm going to try to work around that. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
But I do want to. Yeah. So immediately when I found out my mom was also diagnosed, my knee jerk reaction was to obviously be very depressed, be upset. Why me? Why my family? And I let that go on for maybe 48 hours. And then I went into action mode. And everyone handles things differently. My way of handling things is I can't control this. What I can control is how I change the world. So I called in. I said, "You don't know me, but I know your organization very well. It's very near and dear to my heart. I'm going to plan an event in Chicago. I have no idea if I'm going to raise $1. I don't know if anyone's going to come. Like, I don't know. But anything I raise, I'm going to donate to your organization. And do I have your permission to use your name?" And they were so delighted to hear from me, to hear about my goals. And fast forward, the event was in February. So I had from October to February to kind of plan my first event. I had never really attended these type of events before, much less planned one. And it was a wild success. We raised $42,000. I had donations from over 100 top Chicago businesses. We had silent auction items, raffle items. It was incredible. My kids' preschool allowed me to host the event there. I had everything donated. My favorite bagel spot from actually Madison that started that also now is in Chicago. Like it was a bagel spot that my dad loved also. It was just my dad was obsessed with barbecue, so my favorite package for for the silent auction was this whole barbecue package of his favorite barbecue food from all over the world or all over the country, gift certificates. It was incredible. The support, the love. I've never experienced anything like that, truly. And I had no experience doing it.
And you raised how much again?
$42,000.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
if I had like a team and I had, a little bit wide, I have a pretty wide network, but if I widen that a little bit, and I think the sky's the limit. So I'm really excited to continue putting on events and getting us closer to a cure.
I know when I read about what you had at your event, it sounded really amazing. But to be honest with you, what got me was the tequila and mimosas. I
So
was
that was funny. So I didn't know any of these businesses for the most part. I mean, like I frequented some of them, but I didn't know anyone who worked there. And I got put in touch with Cali Rosa Tequila, and I reached out to them, told them my story, said, "Would you guys donate a bottle for the silent auction?" They said, "No, we're going to donate a whole table, and you guys are going to have
wow.
tequila, and we're going to get orange juice. We're going to make tequila mimosas." And I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I will drink it after the event. And that was a huge hit. We had yoga. We had, I mean, it was great. It was awesome. And the amount of people it aired on a few different news stations in Chicago, the amount of feedback and support afterwards. I have like this DJ who said, "For your next event, let me know. I want to donate all the sound equipment and I want to DJ for it." Like, just had so many people. Someone who owns a bar studio wants to do an event at her bar studio. It's just
Oh, wow.
the Chicago community is amazing. I know the LA community is also. I know we have West Coast people, but I'm just blown away being from not being from here, the outpouring love and support.
And the name of your event was Pushing Back Against Pancreatic Cancer.
Yeah,
And do you think you'll do it again next year?
yeah. I think I'm going to do it differently. I want to make it a family event. My kids were really upset that they helped me put all the things together and didn't get to show up. And also, I stored the Cali Rosa tequila in my daughter's closets. So I feel like if you store all of the tequila and all of these my whole house was storing all of the supplies and everything. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently next year. And I want to try to kind of spread the wealth amongst there's so many great organizations doing so much. And I just still need to kind of iron all of that out and try to like do it with like a different organization every time and just and stay involved with the Hirshberg. And I know there's PanCan, there's Rolf, there's Lusberg, there's so many great ones, and I want to be involved with truly I want to be involved with all of them.
Yeah, there's
They're
a lot of
all
great organizations out
and
there.
they're all doing like something that's a little bit different but
Hmm.
still overlapping the same. They're all incredible. Hirshberg really welcomed me with open arms.
Yeah, Hirshberg is an amazing organization. I've been with them for a long time and just love them as well as all the other ones out there. But there are a
Yeah,
few that
there's
really
so many
stand
good
out,
ones.
right? Right.
But
But
Hirshberg, the personal calls from their founder, the just they're incredible.
well, I hope you will think and consider maybe about getting a team and coming out in October for the LA Cancer Challenge when Hirschberg has their walk. It's really an amazing walk. So
When
hopefully
in
you,
October is it? Do you know the date
I
yet?
have it, but I don't want to say it in my mind because I'm not sure of it. But it's usually
Okay, okay.
close to Halloween. I'll
Let
give you
me
the date.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you
Let
know.
me know.
But that would be
That would be
amazing.
really fun. Kind of full circle. That's how I started.
Yeah, I'd love to
I
see you
started
there.
at the walkathons. I'd have to start exercising now though. So that would be the only hiccup is but I would love to do that and just thank you so much for having me and helping me spread the word and maybe motivate people to do their own fundraisers. I don't know if you want to give my contact information.
Yes, please, please
I'm
do.
happy to help anyone. I'm no expert, but I've kind of
Well, you
done one
kind of are
event
in a way, right? Right? Yeah. Please
in a
give us
weird
your.
way, but I'm happy to like give any what to not do for people. But my email is Whitney, WHITNEY, Golden, GOLDIN, at gmail.com. I mean, I can take everyone through the steps I went through and the mistakes I made and the ways I bounced back from those. And you never know what you're capable of unless you just try it.
No, and it's great to take that pain, that anger, frustration, and do something positive rather than just sit around and mope about it and
Yeah.
ask why me. Really,
Yeah,
you've
the
done a great
Hirshberg
service.
Foundation, they told me that we raised enough to fund an entire clinical trial.
Oh, wow, that's
So
amazing. Well,
one day,
congratulations.
if something comes out of that, everyone played a little tiny part
Yeah.
in what hopefully will one day be a very beautiful outcome, a cure, treatment, early detection.
Oh, congratulations, and thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here with us today. And as we end our show, we do dedication. As you speak my name, I shall live forever is dedicated to your father, Mark, and your grandfather, Whitney, and your great grandfather. And now that I found out your uncle also passed from this disease. So we'd like to dedicate the show to them, and also to show support for your mom, Karen. Really want to dedicate it to her too, because being a survivor is just really important, and it just proves it doesn't always have to be a death sentence. So just keep up the positive, do what you can to fight it, get that tenaciousness, whatever it is that you need to fight this disease, but do it. And thank you again for being here and sharing your journey.
Thank you so much for everything. All right. Take care.
You too. Hold
Bye.
on.
Well, there you have it. Another great reason to tune in each and every time. Follow our living hope, our living journey, as we provide the real life stories that provide inspiration, hope, and education for those living with pancreatic cancer. If you or anyone you know needs help today, lots of resources. We mentioned some of them. Let's spell out one of them here. It's the Hirshberg Foundation for Pancreatic Cancer Research at UCLA. And their website's pretty simple, Pancreatic, Pancreatic, pancreatic.org. For everybody here at the OC Talk Radio Network, I thank you for tuning in. Hope you'll share this story with somebody and come back again as we continue to walk this journey.